The small apartment in Harlem, New York, already cramped with the Thompson family's worn keepsakes, felt even more suffocating when a thick stack of documents was placed on the scarred wooden table. The thud it made echoed like an irreversible declaration, causing Maya Thompson's heart to pound violently in her chest. A 28-year-old black woman. Maya looked up at the man standing before her, Ethan Caldwell, a white American billionaire, tall with icy blue eyes that seemed to assess everything in the room, including her. His expensive gray suit starkly contrasted the threadbare fabric of the chair he sat on, and his presence made Maya's familiar space feel foreign. "This is the contract," Ethan said, his voice low and even devoid of emotion. "You've read the draft. $2 million will cover all hospital fees, special treatment, and additional expenses for your mother. In exchange, you will become my wife for 3 years. A legal marriage, but only in name. You will appear by my side at events, play the role of the devoted wife, and ensure there are no scandals. After 3 years, if you comply with every clause, you're free. If not, all financial support ends immediately." Maya gripped the edge of the table, her fingers trembling. She had read this contract, every page, every line, for the past 2 weeks, ever since Ethan's lawyer contacted her. $2 million. That amount was enough to save her mother, Grace, who was battling a rare form of cancer at an overcrowded public hospital, where doctors had plainly stated that the only potentially life-saving experimental treatment was far beyond their financial reach. Maya had been juggling 3 jobs, waiting tables, tutoring, and working at the library, yet still couldn't keep up with the mounting bills. Every night she lay on her narrow bed, listening to her mother's dry cough from the next room, the helplessness slicing into her like a blade. But the price for that money was her freedom. Not a proposal, not love. It's a cold business transaction. Ethan Caldwell didn't look at her as a woman, but as a solution, a piece to complete the perfect picture of his life. She was repulsed by the idea, by the calm in his gaze, as if buying a wife was no different than acquiring a company. "Why me?" Maya asked, her voice hoarse from restraint. The question had haunted her since that first meeting with Ethan's lawyer. You could choose anyone, people from your world, rich, powerful, eager to sign any deal. Ethan tilted his head, his gaze piercing. "I did my research. You're intelligent. I majored in literature at NYU, despite working multiple jobs to pay tuition. You have poise and manners, and most importantly, you're desperate. You don't have time or reason to cause trouble, unlike others who might demand affection, power, or attempt to manipulate me. You need money, and I need a complication-free wife. This is a fair exchange." His words felt like a slap. Maya's face flushed, but she couldn't refute him. He was right, she was desperate. Every hospital bill reminded her that her mother's time was running out. The experimental treatment costing hundreds of thousands was their only hope, and Ethan Caldwell was the only one offering a path to reach it. "What about children?" Maya asked, trying to steady her voice despite the question making her skin crawl. "Is that in the contract?" Ethan shook his head, his eyes unwavering. "No. This is a business transaction, not a family. I don't want them, and I assume you don't either." She nodded, a flicker of relief surfacing amid the emotional storm. At least she wouldn't have to bear the child of a man she didn't love, a man who saw her as a commodity. But that relief quickly evaporated as she looked at the papers before her. Every page reminded her that she was about to sell 3 years of life, 3 years of living behind a mask, pretending to love a stranger. Ethan said, "You have 24 hours to sign, stand, and adjust his tie. If you agree, your mother will be transferred to Hillcrest Medical Center tomorrow with the best medical team available. If not, I'll find someone else. The choice is yours." He left the door closing with a soft click that sounded like a verdict to Maya. She sat alone, the dim yellow light casting shadows over the contract. The black and white text blurred as tears filled her eyes. One drop fell, tracing a line down her cheek. "Mom, I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice cracking. "I hope this is worth it." The next morning, Maya stood in front of the public hospital where her mother had stayed for months. She clutched the signed contract, the ink still fresh, a binding commitment she couldn't undo. She had stayed up all night weighing every option, but in the end, the image of her mother, frail, weak, yet still smiling to comfort her, compelled her to pick up the pen. Ethan arrived right on time, not with a smile, but a court of professionalism. "Good," he said, seeing her signature. "Your mother will be transferred within 2 hours. I've arranged a car to take you to my penthouse. You'll have your room. My assistant will contact you with the next steps." "Penthouse." Maya repeated, her voice tinged with confusion. "I'll be living with you." Ethan raised an eyebrow, as if her question were self-evident. "Of course. As my wife, you must appear with me, attend events, and meet business associates. Our image must be perfect. But don't worry. I won't interfere with your personal life as long as you follow the terms." Maya nodded, but inside a surge of anger rose. He spoke of this marriage as a business project, not a relationship. She wanted to scream to tell him she wasn't a number on his spreadsheet, but she held back. Her mother needed her strong, and she wouldn't let emotions ruin this opportunity. When the sleek black car pulled up in front of a Manhattan skyscraper, Maya felt like she was entering another world. Ethan's penthouse occupied the top 3 floors, with windows overlooking the city. An older woman, Mrs. Harris, introduced herself as the housekeeper and led Maya to a room twice the size of her Harlem apartment. Silk sheets, empty wardrobes waiting to be filled, a luxurious bathroom, everything foreign, like a reminder she didn't belong. "Welcome, Miss Thompson," Mrs. Harris said with a gentle smile. "Mr. Caldwell asked me to inform you that a team of professionals will arrive tomorrow morning, a stylist, a makeup artist, and a posture coach." Maya frowned. "A posture coach," Mrs. Harris replied neutrally, "to help you adapt to your new role. Mr. Caldwell places great importance on appearances." "Of course he does." Ethan Caldwell hadn't just bought a wife, he wanted to mold her into a perfect product, a showpiece to display to the elite world. A chill ran down Maya's spine. She had signed the contract, but now standing in this lavish room she realized she hadn't only traded away her freedom, she was trading away herself. She sat on the bed, pulled out her phone, and called her mother. "Mom, I have good news," she said, trying to sound cheerful. "You're being transferred to a better hospital with the best doctors." Grace's voice was weak, but filled with hope. "How did you manage that, Maya? What did you do?" Maya clutched the phone tighter, her heart aching. I'm getting married, Mom. He's very wealthy, and he wants to help us." Silence stretched on the other end. "Maya, are you serious? You love him, don't you?" "Yes, Mom." Maya lied, her voice barely holding together. "I love him." When the call ended, Maya looked out the window, where the city lights glittered like distant stars. She had entered a deal she couldn't undo, and now she had to face the biggest question of all. Could she live 3 years in a facade beside a man who saw her as a possession without losing herself in the process? The chandelier lights of the Waldorf Astoria's grand ballroom sparkled like a miniature night sky, but Maya Thompson felt suffocated amidst the crowd, clad in tuxedos and evening gowns. It had only been a week since she signed the marriage contract with Ethan Caldwell, and now she stood beside him shoulder to shoulder in the role of future Mrs. Caldwell. The emerald silk dress hugging her figure, chosen by a stylist Ethan had hired, made her feel like a stranger in her skin. Ethan, dressed in a sharp black suit, looked like he had stepped out of a magazine, but his cold blue eyes never stopped scanning the crowd as if evaluating everyone in the room. "Keep smiling," Ethan whispered, his lips barely moving. "Charles Whitmore, chairman of the hospital board, is coming over. He's essential." Maya nodded slightly, wearing the smile she had practiced for hours in the mirror. That morning, a team of professionals had arrived at the penthouse, a hairstylist who reshaped her natural curls into a sleek bun, a makeup artist who taught her how to accentuate her deep brown eyes while still looking natural, and an etiquette coach, Mrs. Winters, who criticized every gesture from how she held a wine glass to how she shook hands. "You represent Mr. Caldwell," Mrs. Winters had said sternly. "Every eye will be on you." Maya had wanted to protest, to say she didn't need to be molded, but the image of her mother at the upscale Hillcrest Hospital, smiling faintly but full of hope, kept her silent. Charles Whitmore, an older man with silver hair, approached with his wife Margaret, a sharp-looking woman with a scrutinizing gaze. "Ethan, you always know how to make an entrance," Charles said, shaking Ethan's hand before turning to Maya. "And this must be the fiancé everyone's talking about. Maya Thompson." Ethan introduced his hand, resting lightly on Maya's back, a possessive gesture lacking any warmth. "Maya, this is Charles and Margaret Whitmore." Maya smiled, extending her hand just as Mrs. Winters had instructed. "It's a pleasure to meet you both." Margaret grasped her hand loosely, eyes scanning Maya's dress and hair. "Thompson, I don't recognize that name. What does your family do, Ms. Thompson?" The question implied that Maya needed to prove she belonged in this world. "My father was a high school teacher, and my mother was a nurse before she fell ill," Maya replied, calm but resolute. "I work at a community center and tutor on the side." Margaret raised an eyebrow, but before she could respond, Ethan cut in smoothly. "Maya has worked tirelessly to support underprivileged children. That's what caught my attention." He looked at Maya with a brief flash of admiration, but she knew it was just part of the performance. As the Whitmores walked away, a sharp voice rang out behind them. "Well, this is unexpected, Ethan. I didn't think you'd choose someone so ordinary." Maya turned to see a tall, slender blonde woman in a tight crimson gown. Her eyes were razor-sharp, and her smile dripped malice. "Sophia," Ethan said, his tone stiff. "I didn't know you were invited." Sophia Laurent, Ethan's ex, stepped closer, completely ignoring Maya. "Oh, you know me. I'm always welcome in places like this." "But Ethan, a girl from Harlem, what are you playing at?" Maya felt heat rise to her face, but she kept her composure. Maya Thompson introduced herself, extending a hand. "And I'm not part of any game." Sophia looked at her hand as if it were something filthy, then turned back to Ethan. "How charming. But you can't fool me. A girl like her won't be able to hold on to you for long." "That's enough." "Sophia," Ethan interjected, his voice low and dangerous. "Maya is my fiancée. If you have a problem with that, keep it to yourself." Sophia sneered, but her eyes promised trouble. As she walked away, Ethan turned to Maya. "She's not worth your concern. Just someone who can't accept rejection." Maya nodded, but unease churned inside her. Sophia wasn't just a jealous ex, she was a threat, and Maya knew she had to stay alert. The next morning, Maya sat in the back of a luxury car en route to Hillcrest Medical Center to visit her mother. The atmosphere was completely different from the old hospital, quiet and clean, with friendly nurses and state-of-the-art equipment. When she entered her mother's room, Grace sat in bed looking far healthier than in weeks. "Maya, my love," she called, reaching out. "This place is like a 5-star hotel. They say the new treatment starts next week." Maya held her mother's hand, fighting back tears. "I'm so glad, Mom. You deserve the best care." But Grace's sharp eyes missed nothing. "Maya, how can you afford all this? What did you do, sweetheart? Maya took a deep breath, ready to tell the rehearsed lie. I'm getting married, Mom. His name is Ethan Caldwell, and he's a businessman. He wants to help us. Ethan Caldwell. Grace frowned. The man from the papers. When did you meet him? Why didn't you tell me anything? We met through work at the community center, Maya said, avoiding her mother's gaze. It all happened fast, but I love him, Mom. Grace squeezed her hand. Maya, look at me. Are you telling the truth? I don't want you sacrificing yourself for me. I'm not sacrificing anything, Maya said, her voice nearly cracking. I want you to get better. Please let me take care of this. Grace nodded, but her eyes were filled with concern. As Maya left the hospital, guilt pressed heavily on her. Lying to her mother was the hardest thing she had ever done, but she had no other choice. Back at the penthouse, Maya faced a packed schedule. Mrs. Winters, the etiquette coach, awaited her with a long list of necessary improvements. She said you'll need to learn how to walk, talk, and even smile according to your status. This society does not forgive mistakes. Maya bit her lip, holding back a retort. She didn't need someone to teach her how to be a person, but she knew she had to follow Ethan's rules to keep the contract intact. During a break, she called Jasmine, her best friend from college, her lifelong confidant. So you're marrying a billionaire? Jasmine squealed through the phone. Maya, spill everything. What's he like? Maya hesitated. He's fine. It's all just happening so fast. Fast. You didn't tell me a thing. Jasmine laughed, and then her voice turned serious. Maya, are you okay? You don't sound like yourself. I'm fine, Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. It's just a lot of pressure. I'll explain more when things calm down. As she hung up, Mrs. Harris entered the room. Ms. Thompson, Mr. Caldwell has asked that you prepare for tonight. There's another event, and he would like you to wear the sapphire gown. Maya nodded, but inside her a quiet fury burned. She wasn't a doll for Ethan to dress up and parade around. But then she thought of her mother, of her smile in that hospital room, and she stood up ready to face yet another night in Ethan Caldwell's world. A world she didn't belong to, but one she was now forced to survive. Ethan Caldwell's penthouse was quiet in the evening, with only the faint clacking of a keyboard echoing from his office. Maya Thompson sat on the armchair in the living room, an open book in her hands, though her eyes were far from the page. It had been 2 weeks since she moved in, and her life was now a blur of lavish parties, etiquette lessons, and practiced smiles beside Ethan. But what unsettled her most wasn't the judgmental stares of the upper class, or Sophia Laurent's snide remarks. It was Ethan himself. The man she was about to call her husband was still a mystery. Maya stood up, intending to return to her room, when her gaze fell upon the slightly ajar door of Ethan's office. He wasn't there, perhaps out for a late meeting. A small photo frame caught her attention on his desk among the neatly stacked documents. Curious, she stepped inside, knowing she was invading his private space. The photo showed a younger Ethan with tousled blonde hair, his arm around a girl with a radiant smile. The girl had the same blue eyes as Ethan, but hers glowed with a warmth he never showed. Maya's heart pounded. This wasn't an ex. This might be someone close. The sound of footsteps made her jump. Ethan stood in the doorway, his expression cold, though a flash of pain crossed his face. "What are you doing in my office?" he asked sharply, though his voice remained calm. I'm sorry," Maya stammered, setting the frame down. "I was just curious. Who is she?" Ethan picked up the photo, his fingers brushing the girl's face. Silence stretched, and Maya thought he wouldn't answer. But then he spoke, his voice low and heavy. "That's Lily, my younger sister. She died 10 years ago. Maya felt the air leave her lungs. I'm so sorry, she whispered. What happened? Ethan turned away, looking out the window where city lights shimmered. Car accident. I was driving her home from a birthday party. A drunk driver hit us. He survived. Lily didn't. He paused, his voice hoarse. She was only 22. The confession opened a wound. Maya saw the pain in Ethan's eyes, not the cold detachment she'd expected, but something more profound, rawer, hidden beneath his perfect exterior. It wasn't your fault, she said softly, stepping closer, though she didn't dare touch him. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. Logic says that. But every night I still see her in my dreams, asking why I didn't react faster, why I couldn't save her. He set the frame down and turned to Maya. I'm not telling you this for sympathy. Just so you understand why I live this way. No emotion, no risk. Work is the only thing that's never betrayed me. Maya wanted to speak to offer comfort, but the words caught in her throat. She realized Ethan wasn't just a cold billionaire, a wounded man who had built walls around himself for survival. But before she could say anything, his guarded demeanor returned. We have a charity gala tomorrow night. You should get some rest. And Maya, he added, his voice sharp again, don't go into my office. She nodded and left the room, her heart heavy. Ethan wasn't just the man she resented for the contract. He was a puzzle she both wanted to solve and feared what she might find. The next morning, Maya visited Hillcrest Medical Center to see her mother. Grace looked better, a healthy flush returning to her cheeks. They said the treatment might begin sooner than expected, she said, holding Maya's hand. Sweetheart, I don't know what you did to make this possible, but I know it wasn't easy. Maya gave a weak smile. I want you to get better, Mom. Don't worry about anything. But Grace's sharp eyes were watching. Maya, I know you're hiding something. Is Ethan Caldwell? Is he a good man? Do you love him? Maya avoided her mother's gaze, her chest tightening. He takes care of me. I'm fine, Mom. Grace squeezed her hand. I don't want you sacrificing your happiness for me. Promise me. Maya, promise you won't lose yourself. That promise was harder than Maya expected. I promise, she said, though she wasn't sure she could keep it. On the way back, Maya called Jasmine, the best friend who always gave her a sense of grounding. Are you okay? Maya, Jasmine asked immediately. You haven't called much lately, and I'm worried. Just busy, Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. Everything here, it's all so different. I feel like I'm performing in a play. Jasmine hesitated. You love him, don't you? I mean, marrying someone like Ethan Caldwell must come from some deep love, right? Maya bit her lip. She wanted to tell the truth about the contract and charade, but she couldn't. Yes, she lied. I love him. But even as she said it, she wondered if she was lying to herself too. That evening, Maya and Ethan attended another charity event at an art museum. She wore a deep red silk gown, feeling more confident after training with Mrs. Winters. But as they entered, Sophia Laurent appeared again, her gaze like a blade. Ethan, Maya. Sophia said, her voice syrupy sweet. The perfect couple. I hear the wedding's happening soon. Quite the whirlwind. Ethan took Maya's hand to move for the cameras. He replied smoothly, when you find the right person, there's no need to wait. Sophia scoffed, looking Maya over. Right person, or just convenient? I know you, Ethan. You don't do anything without a plan. Maya felt the heat rise in her face, but kept her voice calm. Miss Laurent, I don't know your problem with me, but I'm here for Ethan, not for you. If you have something to say it directly. The surrounding crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to them. Sophia raised an eyebrow, surprised but quickly recovering. Well, Miss Thompson, how bold of you. But be careful. Ethan's world isn't made for people like you. Before Maya could respond, Ethan pulled her aside. That's enough, he muttered under his breath. She's just provoking you. Don't let her get to you. Maya pulled her hand from his as they reached a quiet corner. I'm not losing control. But why does she keep targeting me? What does she know about us? Ethan looked at her, hesitation flickering in his eyes. Sophia used to be part of my life. When I ended it, she didn't accept it. She thinks she can hurt me by going after you. And you didn't think I deserved to know this from the beginning? Maya asked sharper than she meant to. Ethan sighed. I didn't think she was worth your attention. I was wrong. I'll deal with Sophia. You focus on your role. My role, Maya echoed bitterly. Right. I forgot I'm just part of your plan. Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but a business associate called out to him. He looked at Maya as if he wanted to say more, but turned and walked away, leaving her alone in a sea of strangers. Maya gripped her wine glass tightly, thinking of Lily and Ethan's pain, and wondering whether she'd truly understand this man, or even wanted to. Morning sunlight filtered through the trees on the Caldwell estate, chosen as the venue for Maya Thompson and Ethan Caldwell's wedding. Maya stood in the bridal suite, wearing a stunning white lace gown that hugged her body, the train cascading across the floor like a sparkling river. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her natural curls were pinned into an elegant updo, with a few tendrils softly framing her face. Outside, 200 guests, business people, politicians and close acquaintances were waiting for a flawless wedding. But to Maya, everything felt like a meticulously crafted stage play. Jasmine, Maya's best friend, entered, her eyes lighting up at the sight of her. Oh my God, Maya, you look like a princess. Ethan's going to faint when he sees you. She laughed, then noticed the tension in Maya's expression. You okay? A little nervous before the big moment. Maya nodded, forcing a smile. It's just that everything's happening so fast. She didn't dare say the truth that she was about to enter a fake marriage, and her heart was heavy with the weight of deceiving everyone, including Jasmine. Tanya, another close friend, adjusted Maya's veil. When it's the right person, you'll know. And seeing how Ethan's taken care of your mom, I'd bet he's a good man. Maya nodded, but Tanya's words only deepened her guilt. Her mother, Grace, seated in the front row, believed her daughter was marrying for love. But the truth was, Ethan was merely fulfilling a contract. The door opened, and Helen Caldwell, Ethan's mother, entered. She took Maya by surprise with her elegant silver hair and warm smile. Maya, you look wonderful, she said, taking her hand. I want to give you something. She opened a velvet box, revealing a delicate silver bracelet with a small sapphire. This belonged to Lily, Ethan's sister. It meant a lot to her. I think you should wear it today. Maya felt a tightening in her chest. She remembered the photo in Ethan's office, the pain in his voice when he spoke about Lily. Mrs. Helen, I don't know what to say. Thank you. She allowed Helen to fasten the bracelet, feeling its weight on her wrist and deep in her heart. Helen squeezed her hand gently. Ethan has never brought anyone home to meet us. You've changed him, Maya. I've seen him smile more since he met you. Her hopeful words made Maya want to cry. She was deceiving this kind-hearted woman, deceiving Ethan's entire family. I hope I'm worthy. Maya whispered, her voice catching in her throat. The ceremony began with music from a string quartet. Maya walked down the aisle, her hand resting on the arm of Robert Caldwell, Ethan's father, who had offered to escort her since her father had passed. Rows of unfamiliar faces lined both sides, their eyes watching her intently. Ethan stood beneath an arch of white flowers, tall in a black tuxedo, his blonde hair neatly combed. As their eyes met, a flicker of emotion passed across his face. surprise, or perhaps admiration, but it quickly vanished, replaced by his usual controlled expression. The ceremony was brief, as Ethan had requested. They exchanged traditional vows, avoiding any personal promises they couldn't keep. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Ethan leaned down, and Maya braced herself for a formal kiss. But as his lips touched hers, the kiss lingered longer than expected, gentle yet meaningful. His hand grazed her cheek, and Maya's heart raced for a moment. When they parted, Ethan's gaze seemed to want to say something, but he quickly turned back to the guests, flashing a perfect smile. Applause filled the garden, but Maya could only hear the thudding of her heart. Was that kiss real, or just another part of the act? The reception occurred in the estate's grand hall, where tables were draped in silk and adorned with fresh flowers. Maya and Ethan made their rounds, receiving congratulations from guests she'd never met. Near the end of the evening, Sophia Laurent appeared clad in a shimmering gold gown. "Congratulations, Mrs. Caldwell," she said sweetly, though her eyes were cold. "Enjoy the moment. It won't last." Maya squeezed Ethan's hand and kept her smile. "Thank you, Miss Laurent, but I'm not worried about that." Sophia sneered, then turned to Ethan. "Do you think she can survive in your world? She doesn't belong here, and you know it." Ethan stepped forward, his voice low and dangerous. "Sophia, if you want to keep your place in this circle, stop. Maya is my wife, and you have no right to judge her." Sophia shrugged, but her eyes promised trouble. As she walked away, Maya turned to Ethan. "She's not going to stop, is she?" Ethan sighed. "She's the daughter of a major investor, and I'll deal with it. You keep doing what you did today." Maya nodded, though. Inside, a quiet anger smoldered. She wasn't just a pawn in Ethan's power game, but she knew she had to play the role at least for her mother's sake. Later that night, Maya found a quiet moment on the balcony, gazing out over the garden illuminated by fairy lights. Jasmine joined her with 2 glasses of champagne. "You okay, Maya? You've looked like you're carrying the world's weight all day." Maya took a sip, tasting the bitterness on her tongue. "I just didn't expect it all to be this complicated." Jasmine placed a hand on her shoulder. "You love him, don't you? I saw how he looked at you when you walked down the aisle. There was something real in his eyes, Maya." Maya wanted to tell her the truth, but she couldn't. Instead, she smiled. "You may be right." But deep inside, she wondered if Ethan's look had been genuine, or just another layer of the flawless facade he wore so well. Ethan appeared in the doorway, interrupting the moment. "Maya, we need to take a few more photos with my parents before they leave." He glanced at Jasmine, nodding politely. "Thank you for being here for Maya." As Jasmine stepped away, Maya turned to Ethan. "Your parents believe we're in love. I feel awful lying to them." Ethan looked at her, his expression briefly softening. "They're happy. That's what matters. You're not hurting anyone." "But I'm hurting myself," Maya thought, though she didn't say it aloud. Instead, she took his hand and returned to the reception hall, ready to continue the performance. But the sapphire bracelet on her wrist. Lily's bracelet felt like a quiet reminder that the man beside her wasn't just a cold billionaire. He carried a deep, unspoken grief. And though she didn't want to admit it, Maya was beginning to want to understand him. Ethan Caldwell's private jet landed on a narrow runway in the middle of the ocean, revealing a scene from a painting, the Maldives, with its crystal-clear blue waters, stretches of powdery white sand, and overwater bungalows floating serenely above the sea. Maya Thompson stood on the wooden walkway leading to their private bungalow, the ocean breeze brushing her skin, yet her heart remained heavy. Just one day after the wedding, she and Ethan had left New York to begin their honeymoon, a clause in the contract, another performance, to cement the image of a happy couple in the public eye. But as she looked at Ethan still in his white shirt and slacks, phone in hand, checking emails, she wondered if any part of this marriage was genuine. "The room's ready," Ethan said, putting his phone away. "You're free to explore the island. I have a few calls to handle." Maya nodded, unsurprised. Ethan always prioritized work, and she had grown used to his distance. She changed into a swimsuit, enjoying the paradise around her, even alone. The Maldives Ocean was like a tranquilizer with schools of tropical fish swirling around her as she swam in the glassy water. But even that beauty couldn't wash away the loneliness. She was Ethan's wife in name only. Between them stood an invisible wall. On the third evening, as Maya read on the bungalow terrace, Ethan appeared unexpectedly without his phone or laptop for once. "I'm free tomorrow," he said, a hint of hesitation in his voice. "I've arranged a trip to a private island. If you'd like, we could go together." Maya raised her brows, surprised. "A private island? Are you sure? No meetings you need to attend?" Ethan gave a faint smile, a rare expression. "I can put work aside for a day. You said I care too much about efficiency. Maybe it's time I try something uncalculated." She nodded, curious but cautious. "All right. Sounds interesting." The next morning, a small boat took them to an uninhabited island, just white sand, a few palm trees, and a small hut with a set table. No staff, no audience. For the first time since the contract was signed, Maya and Ethan were truly alone. They spent the morning swimming, and to her surprise, Ethan seemed relaxed, even playful with the waves. His smile caught her off guard. Beneath the palms, they shared a simple lunch, grilled fish, fruit salad, and wine. "Have you ever dreamed of doing something other than business?" Maya asked, sipping her wine, feeling unexpectedly free without pretending. Ethan looked out at the sea, his gaze distant. "When I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut. Lily used to joke I'd be the first to build a hotel on Mars." He chuckled, but it faded fast. "After she died, I stopped dreaming. Work was the only thing that made sense." Maya felt a pang. She understood loss. Her father had died when she was young, leaving her and her mother to fend for themselves. "I used to dream of being a writer," she confessed. "Writing stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. But life pushed me toward reality." Ethan looked at her, his gaze deeper than usual. "You could still write. Money's no longer an issue for you." Maya shook her head. "It's not money. It's time. And belief. When my mother got sick, I forgot what I wanted." Silence settled between them, but it wasn't awkward. They continued talking about books, places they wanted to visit, little things they'd never shared. Maya was surprised to realize she was enjoying this moment, not with Ethan Caldwell, the billionaire, but with Ethan, the man who could laugh and listen. Ethan's hand accidentally brushed hers underwater as they swam back to shore. They paused, eyes meeting momentarily. Maya thought he might kiss her. The air between them buzzed with possibility. But then Ethan's phone rang, shattering the moment. He apologized and stepped away to answer, leaving Maya with a quiet, inexplicable disappointment. They dined on the beach that evening, candlelight flickering on the waves. Ethan was quieter now, seemingly drawn back into the world of business. Maya broke the silence. "Today, thank you. I didn't know you could be like that." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Real," she said honestly. "Not a CEO, not a billionaire. Just Ethan." He looked at her, something complicated flickering in his eyes. "I chose you because you're different, Maya. You didn't hide your motives. You wanted to save your mother, and you didn't pretend otherwise. That's rare in my world." Maya furrowed her brows. "Then why did you need a wife? Was it to please the board?" Ethan hesitated. For the first time, she saw genuine uncertainty in him. "The board was part of it. They wanted me to stabilize, to build investor confidence. But it was more than that. After Lily, I didn't want anyone getting too close. A fake marriage gave me control, no risk, no pain. His confession stunned her. Maya realized Ethan wasn't just afraid of losing power, but of losing the people he loved. But before she could say anything, he stood up. "It's getting late. We should go back." Maya lay on the bed at the bungalow, reflecting on the day. Ethan had shown her a part of himself, less the cold billionaire, more the wounded man beneath. But as she heard him typing again in the other room, she wondered if he'd ever truly let his walls fall, or if she was just another cog in his carefully engineered plan. She touched Lily's bracelet still wrapped around her wrist since the wedding, and whispered, "Lily, I hope I'm doing the right thing." But deep down, she knew today had changed something between them. Not love, not yet, but a door had cracked open, and neither of them was quite ready to step through it. Back in New York, after the honeymoon, Maya Thompson sensed a subtle shift in the air between her and Ethan Caldwell. The moment on the private island in the Maldives, Ethan's rare smile, his confession about Lily, and the fleeting touch of their hands still lingered in her mind. But as they stepped off the private jet, Ethan resumed his role as the cold, composed CEO, immersing himself in work and leaving Maya with her tangled thoughts. The sprawling Manhattan penthouse, despite its luxury, still made her feel like an uninvited guest. She wondered whether those genuine moments in the Maldives had been a mirage, or perhaps a door just slightly ajar between them. Maya spent her first day back visiting her mother at Hillcrest Medical Center. Grace, her silver hair neatly brushed, looked healthier than ever. "You look radiant." "Maya," she said, holding her hand. "How was the honeymoon?" Maya smiled, avoiding her mother's gaze. "It was wonderful, Mom. The Maldives is like a painting." She didn't mention Ethan's long work hours or the almost kiss. Instead, she spoke of turquoise seas and white sands, hoping to distract her. But Grace wasn't easily fooled. "Sweetheart, I know you're hiding something. Is Ethan treating you well?" "He's good to me," Maya replied, her voice slightly shaky. "We're just trying to understand each other." Grace squeezed her hand. "Marriage isn't easy, but if you love him, be patient. Sometimes love takes time to grow." Maya nodded, but inside she wondered if love could grow from a contract. As she left the hospital, she called Jasmine, needing someone to confide in. "I don't know what I'm doing, Jazz," she admitted over the phone. "Sometimes I think Ethan is someone I can understand, but then he shuts down again, as if I'm just part of his plan." Jasmine sighed. "You married a billionaire, Maya. They live in a different world. But if you feel something real, give it a chance. Just don't lose yourself in his game." Jasmine's advice echoed in Maya's mind as she returned to the penthouse to prepare for that evening's charity gala, their first public appearance as a married couple since the wedding. The ballroom at the Plaza Hotel sparkled with lights and laughter from New York's elite. Maya stood beside Ethan in a sapphire silk gown that hugged her figure, her smile polished to perfection. But her eyes scanned the crowd constantly, alert for Sophia Loren. Ethan, dressed in a black tuxedo, held her hand, but the gesture felt more possessive than affectionate. Charles Whitmore, chairman of the hospital board, approached to offer congratulations. "Marriage suits you, Ethan," he said, patting his shoulder. "And Ms. Thompson, you light up the room." "Thank you, Mr. Whitmore," Maya replied smoothly. "Thanks to Mrs. Winter's training." But a cold voice cut through the air before she could say more. "What a perfect picture," said Sophia Loren, stepping forward in a tight red dress, her gaze like a blade. "But I wonder, Ethan, how long until the painting cracks?" Ethan tightened his grip on Maya's hand, his voice low and dangerous. "Sophia, I warned you. Please don't test me. Sophia sneered, turning to Maya. Do you know why Ethan married you, Ms. Thompson? Not for love. His board threatened to remove him as CEO and chairman if he didn't settle down. A wife was the quickest way to preserve his power. The nearby crowd fell silent, all eyes turning toward them. Maya felt as if the floor had dropped beneath her. She turned to Ethan, searching his eyes for a denial, but he only showed a brief flicker of tension before returning to his usual calm. Sophia, you're speaking about things you don't understand, he said coolly. And I suggest you stop before you damage yourself. Sophia shrugged, but her smile was full of challenge. I'm only speaking the truth. Ask him, Maya. Ask if he ever planned to tell you. She walked away, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. Maya pulled her hand free from Ethan's, her voice trembling. Is it true? You married me to keep your seat on the board? Ethan glanced around to ensure no one was listening. This isn't the place. Let's talk in the car. Maya could no longer hold it inside the car on the way home. Tell me, Ethan. Sophia was right, wasn't she? This contract wasn't just about appearances. It was about your power. Ethan exhaled deeply, staring out the window. The board wanted me to stabilize. Some investors believed my bachelor lifestyle didn't reflect the family values our company promotes. They threatened to strip my chairman title. And yes, a wife helped reinforce my position. But that's not the whole story. Then what is Maya snapped sharper than she intended. You hid this from me from the beginning. I deserve to know the truth. Ethan turned to face her, his expression serious. I chose you, Maya, from dozens of candidates. Not just because you were desperate, but because I believed you could stand beside me without complicating everything. You're intelligent, resilient, and real. I didn't want someone like Sophia who would use me for her ambitions. I needed someone I could trust. His words silenced her, but the anger still simmered. Trust. You talked about trust, but didn't trust me enough to tell me the truth. I feel like a pawn, Ethan. He opened his mouth, then stopped, a flicker of pain crossing his eyes. I'm sorry, he said quietly, voice rough. I should have told you from the start. But I didn't think it mattered. Because this was supposed to be just a contract. Just a contract. Maya repeated bitterly. Right. I forgot. She turned away, staring out the window, the distance between them never feeling greater. That night, Maya lay in bed in her separate room, unable to sleep. Sophia's words echoed in her mind, along with Ethan's rare apology. She thought of her mother, of Grace's smile, and wondered if she could keep living in this facade when her trust had been shaken. But deep down, she also remembered Ethan on the island in the Maldives, the man who laughed and talked about Lily and made her feel like there was something real between them. She touched Lily's bracelet still wrapped around her wrist. Who is he, Lily? She whispered. The man I hate, or the man I might understand. But no answer came, and Maya knew she'd have to find it herself, even if it meant facing truths more painful than she was ready for. Ethan Caldwell's penthouse was cloaked in darkness, lit only by the glow of his laptop screen reflecting on his tense face. Maya Thompson stood at the living room entrance, watching him. He hadn't stopped working since they returned from the charity gala the night before. Sophia Lorenz's revelation about the board's pressure and Ethan's rare apology still haunted her. Her trust had been shaken, but she couldn't deny that she was beginning to see a different side of him. Not just a cold billionaire, but a man carrying deep pain and heavy responsibility. The next morning, Maya visited Hillcrest Medical Center to see her mother. Grace, dressed in clean hospital clothes, was reading a book Maya had brought the week before. You look tired, Maya, she said, putting the book down. Is married life already difficult? Maya offered a faint smile and sat beside the bed. It's just, Ethan's very busy. We haven't found a rhythm yet. Grace held her hand. I don't know much about his world, but I know you. If you chose him, I believe you had a reason, but don't let yourself be swept away. Okay? Her mother's words lingered in Maya's mind. She had chosen Ethan, or more accurately, selected the contract for her mother's sake, but now she wondered if she was seeking something more in him. I'll be careful, Mom, she promised, though she wasn't sure she could keep that promise. On the way home, Maya's phone rang. It was Jasmine, her voice full of concern. Maya, I just saw an article online. Sophia Laurent is spreading rumors about you and Ethan that your marriage is a business deal. Are you okay? Maya felt the blood drain from her face. What exactly did she say? Jasmine replied, just vague insinuations. But it's spreading fast on the gossip sites. I'm worried about you. You need to talk to Ethan. If Sophia knows something, you need to be prepared. Maya hung up, her heart pounding. Sophia wasn't just a jealous ex. She was actively trying to destroy their marriage, and maybe even Ethan's career. When Maya returned to the penthouse, Ethan stood by the living room window holding a glass of whiskey, something she rarely saw. Sophia was spreading rumors. Maya said, her voice tense. She's implying that our marriage is fake. Did you know? Ethan turned around, his eyes dark. I just got word from the PR team. They're handling it, but Sophia won't stop easily. Her father is a major investor, and she knows that gives her power. So what are you going to do? Maya asked, stepping closer. Let her keep attacking me. Or, are you going to tell me the truth? All of it? Ethan set the glass down and looked her in the eye. I told you about the board, but there's something I didn't say. Sophia wanted me to marry her, not out of love, but because her father promised more investment. When I said no, she swore she'd make me regret it. You're her target, because you're the one standing beside me. Maya stood still, anger mixed with an unexpected flicker of sympathy. Then why didn't you tell me this from the start? I deserve to know what I'm up against. Ethan exhaled, his voice hoarse. Because I thought I could control everything. But I was wrong. And I'm sorry, Maya, for dragging you into this mess. His second apology in 2 days stunned her. Before she could respond, Ethan's phone rang. He frowned at the caller ID. It's the board chairman, he said, stepping out onto the balcony to take the call. The call lasted over an hour. When Ethan returned, he looked like he'd just fought a war. He said the board just voted to shut down the Detroit factory, voice calm but bitter. 300 workers will lose their jobs by the end of the month. Maya was shocked. I thought you were fighting to keep it open. I tried, Ethan said, sitting on the couch and rubbing his temples. That factory was where my father started on the assembly line before he became a manager. But the board believes closing it will boost next quarter's profits 7 votes to 4. I lost. Maya looked at him, recognizing that the defeat in his eyes wasn't just professional. You care about those workers, don't you? Not just because of your family legacy. Ethan let out a bitter laugh. Care in business, that's considered a weakness. But yes, I don't want to see those families torn apart over a line in a report. Maya sat beside him for the first time, seeing him not as a distant billionaire, but as a man failing to do the right thing. You did everything you could. Sometimes we can't save everyone. Ethan looked at her, and in his eyes, she saw pain. After Lily died, I swore I'd never let anyone who depended on me be disappointed again. But I keep failing, first with you, now with them. His confession rendered Maya speechless. She reached out and placed her hand over his, a gesture of quiet comfort. You haven't failed me. You kept your promise. My mom is getting the best care. And for those workers, you fought when no one else would. Ethan looked at her hand on his, then up at her, his gaze deep. For a moment, time seemed to pause. He leaned in, and Maya thought he might kiss her. But instead, he pulled her into an embrace, his head resting on her shoulder. She felt his breath, the tension in his body slowly melting. She wrapped her arms around him, realizing this was the first time he had allowed himself to be vulnerable with her. "I'm sorry, Maya," he whispered, voice gravelly for everything. "Don't apologize," she said, holding him tighter. "Just don't shut me out again." They sat like that in the penthouse's quiet darkness, the distant hum of Manhattan traffic below. When Ethan finally pulled away, something in his eyes had changed. Not coldness, but genuine appreciation. "I need to go to Detroit," he said, "to tell the workers in person. They deserve to hear it from me." "I'm going with you," Maya said without hesitation. "You shouldn't face it alone." Ethan looked at her surprised. "Why, you don't have to do this." "Because I want to," she said firmly. "We're a team, even if it's just on paper." Ethan smiled a genuine smile, rare and sincere. "Thank you, Maya. I'll arrange the trip." That night, Maya lay in bed thinking about Ethan's embrace. It wasn't love, but it was real, a connection that crossed the boundaries of their contract. She thought about Sophia and the Detroit factory and wondered if she had the strength to survive in Ethan's world. But as she touched Lily's bracelet, which was still on her wrist, she felt a new resolve. She wasn't just a piece in Ethan's plan. She was Maya Thompson, and would find a way for them both to weather this storm. Ethan Caldwell's private jet touched down at Detroit Airport under a gray morning sky, mirroring the heavy mood shared by both him and Maya Thompson. This trip wasn't for leisure or show. It was a reckoning. They were here to face 300 workers set to lose their jobs after the board decided to shut down the factory. Maya sat beside Ethan in the car, glancing at him. His blonde hair slightly tousled, blue eyes shadowed with tension. The heartfelt embrace they shared the night before still lingered, but she wondered if Ethan would raise his walls again in the face of this failure. "You okay?" Maya asked, breaking the silence. Ethan stared out the window as the aging factories of Detroit rolled past. "I've been here dozens of times, but never as the bearer of bad news. They deserve better than this." Maya placed her hand gently over his, a small but sincere gesture. "You're doing the right thing telling them directly. Not everyone would have the courage." Ethan turned to her, a flicker of gratitude in his eyes. "Thanks for coming, Maya. I don't think I could have done this alone." Caldwell Manufacturing was a sprawling red brick building, and its once busy assembly lines are now silent. Workers gathered in the large meeting room, their faces filled with worry and hope. Ethan stepped up to the podium, bringing no notes or script. "I'm here to tell you the truth," he began, voice low but clear. "The board has voted to shut down this factory. I fought it, but I lost. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." Silence blanketed the room. Not anger, just deep disappointment. Ethan outlined compensation packages and job retraining programs he'd arranged. He called workers by name, asked about their families, and listened to their concerns. Maya stood at the back of the room, quietly amazed. This wasn't Ethan Caldwell, the billionaire. This man genuinely cared. After the meeting, an older worker named Mr. Davis approached Maya. "You're Mr. Caldwell's wife?" he asked with a tired smile. "I've worked here for 30 years, since his father was a line worker." "Mr. Caldwell always stops by when he's in town and asks how we're doing. He's not like other bosses." Maya nodded, feeling a strange sense of pride. "He does care. I know that. I wish he let more people see that side of him." Mr. Davis chuckled. "You may be helping him do that. He needs someone like you." His words stayed with Maya. She looked toward Ethan, who was now talking with another group of workers, his expression full of quiet resolve. She realized He wasn't just fighting for a legacy. He was fighting for people he felt responsible for. That afternoon, Ethan led Maya on a plant tour showing her the old assembly lines that once produced car parts his father had proudly worked on. He said this place shaped who I am, resting his hand on a worn machine. My dad used to say work isn't just about money, it's about people. But after Lily died, he changed. He became rigid and obsessed with profit. I don't want to become him. Maya saw the pain in his eyes. You're not like him, Ethan. You fought for these people even when you lost. Ethan shook his head. Not enough. I should have found another way to convince the board. Sometimes we can't save everyone, Maya said softly. But you gave them dignity. That matters. Ethan looked at her, his gaze intense. You always surprise me, Maya. I chose you because I thought you'd be easy to manage, but you're stronger than I expected. Maya smiled. I'm not easy to manage, Ethan. You'd better get used to that. He smiled back, a genuine smile that made her heart race. I'm learning. That evening, at a downtown Detroit hotel, Maya and Ethan dined with a few factory managers. The mood was somber, but Ethan shared his plan to launch a fund to help workers find new jobs. On the way back to their room, Maya sensed the air between them had shifted, no longer distant, but filled with a new closeness. Inside the room, Ethan stood by the window, looking over the city. Maya sat on the bed, touching Lily's bracelet. Why don't you let people see this side of you? She asked. The side that cares, that fights for others. Ethan turned, a flicker of hurt in his eyes. In business, emotion is a weakness. After Lily died, I taught myself to shut it down. Our contract, it gave me control. No risk. Maya stood and walked to him. But is it worth it? Hiding who you are to feel safe? Ethan met her gaze, eyes trembling with emotion. Who do you want me to be? Maya, the man you saw today, or the one you hated when we signed the contract? I don't hate you, she said firmly. I want to know who you are. Silence stretched between them, the air taut with tension. Ethan stepped closer, lifting her chin gently. He whispered, I don't know if I can be the man you want, but I want to try. He leaned in, and this time there was no phone call performance or audience. His kiss was soft, tentative, as if afraid she'd pull away. Maya froze for a heartbeat, then kissed him back, her hand resting over his chest, feeling the thrum of his heartbeat. The kiss wasn't a performance. It was real, private, and full of emotion. When they pulled apart, Ethan searched her eyes, seeking confirmation of what had just happened. This isn't in the contract, he said, voice husky. Maya smiled, her heart pounding. No, it's not. But I'm not complaining. Ethan touched her cheek, his eyes gentle. We should take it slow. I don't want to hurt you, Maya. She nodded, though a part of her wanted to forget caution altogether. Slow is fine, she agreed. But don't shut me out again, please. He nodded, and Maya saw a sincere promise in his eyes for the first time. That night they lay on the bed, not touching, but the space between them had grown smaller. Maya thought about the kiss, about the Ethan she had seen today, and wondered if she was stepping into dangerous territory, one where the contract no longer defined them. The plane from Detroit to New York glided through clouds of pure white, but Maya Thompson's mind was still anchored in that hotel room kiss. A kiss with Ethan Caldwell. Not for show, not for the contract, but something that had shaken the emotional walls she'd built around her heart. Sitting beside him on the leather seat, she glanced at him. His blonde hair was slightly tousled from the trip, and his blue eyes focused on the documents on his laptop. But there was a subtle change. He no longer felt as distant, and when his hand brushed hers on the armrest, he didn't pull away. We need to talk, Ethan said, closing the laptop as the plane began to descend. About Detroit. About us. Maya nodded, her heart racing. Okay, but not here. Let's get home first. The Manhattan penthouse greeted them with its familiar quiet. Maya changed into a cozy sweater and sat on the couch waiting. Ethan appeared with 2 cups of coffee, placing one gently in front of her. I'm not good at talking about feelings, he began, voice slightly hesitant. But what happened in Detroit? The kiss, the way you stayed with me, wasn't in the contract. I want to renegotiate. Maya raised an eyebrow, surprised. Renegotiate? What exactly do you mean? Ethan looked directly at her, his expression serious. I want to know you. Maya, not Mrs. Caldwell, the woman I hired, but Maya Thompson, who makes me want to become a better version of myself. I'm not promising it'll be easy, but I want to try. A real relationship if you do too. His proposal left Maya speechless for a moment. She thought about the contract, her mother, and the early days when she resented Ethan's coldness. But she also thought of Ethan in Detroit, the man who fought for his workers, held her when he was broken, and kissed her with rare sincerity. What if we try and fail? She asked cautiously. I don't want to go back to pretending, Ethan. He nodded, his eyes never leaving hers. If we don't work, we'll revert to the contract, no pressure, no blame. But I think there's something real between us. Maya tightened her grip on the coffee cup, feeling like she stood at a crossroads. All right, she said at last. Let's renegotiate. But I want honesty, no secrets, no silent agendas. Ethan smiled softly, and it warmed her. Deal. That night, Maya and Ethan shared a bed for the first time, not out of passion, but out of a new kind of comfort. They lay with a small space between them, but it no longer felt like a chasm. Maya thought of Ethan's promise, the possibility of something real, and wondered if she was risking her heart. The next morning, Maya met Jasmine at a Harlem cafe, needing someone to confide in. What are you saying? Maya Jasmine asked, eyes wide, as she heard about the kiss and Ethan's proposal. Are you seriously falling for him? This is a huge gamble. I don't know if I love him yet, Maya admitted, stirring her coffee. But there's something about him. Not the billionaire, but the man who opened up to me. I want to give it a chance. Jasmine sighed, placing a hand over hers. I don't want to see you hurt. He lives in a world full of strategy and control. If he breaks your heart, I won't forgive him. Maya smiled, touched. Thanks, Jazz, but I'm stronger than you think. Maya and Ethan's life began to shift. They ate dinner together more often, talked about his work, her volunteer projects at the community center, and even light-hearted things like their favorite TV shows. Ethan was still busy, but he made an effort, like when he unexpectedly brought home a literature book she'd once mentioned. Small gestures like that made Maya feel like he was genuinely trying. But the shadow of Sophia Laurent still loomed. While Maya was at the community center one afternoon, her phone rang. It was Ethan's assistant voice, tight with urgency. Ms. Thompson, Mr. Caldwell needs you at the office immediately. There's an issue with Ms. Laurent. Maya rushed to Caldwell Enterprises, her heart pounding. Ethan stood opposite Sophia in the conference room, his expression like ice. Sophia, clad in an expensive business suit, wore a smug smile. I'm just trying to help Ethan, she said. If Ms. Thompson can't handle the pressure of this world, she should step aside. Maya entered the room, her voice firm. Ms. Laurent, if you have an issue with me, please let me know directly. Don't play childish games. Sophia turned, her eyes sharp as blades. Oh, Ms. Thompson, I don't play games. I'm protecting my father's investment and Ethan. There's an article going public soon suggesting your marriage is a transaction. I could stop it, but Ethan needs to cooperate. Ethan slammed his hand on the table, his voice laced with danger. "You're blackmailing me, Sophia. Your father won't be pleased to know you're manipulating stock value like this." Sophia shrugged. "Think about it, Ethan. Is she worth the risk?" Maya's face flushed with anger, but she remained composed. "Ethan doesn't have to choose, Ms. Laurent. I'm not going anywhere. And if you think a few tabloid pieces can destroy me, you're wrong." Sophia scoffed, but there was a flicker of doubt in her eyes. "We'll see," she said before walking out. When the door shut, Ethan turned to Maya, his gaze full of gratitude. "You didn't have to do that. Sophia's my problem." "No," Maya replied firmly. "She's our problem. If we're a team, I won't let you fight alone." Ethan stepped closer and took her hand. "You're stronger than I ever expected, Maya." "Thank you." That night, Maya and Ethan sat on the sofa discussing how to handle Sophia. Ethan revealed he had hired a legal team to block the article, but feared Sophia wouldn't stop. "She wants me on my knees," he said bitterly, "but I won't let her hurt you." Maya looked at him, sensing the sincerity in his words. "Why are you doing all of this, Ethan? It's not just about the contract." He was silent for a moment, then spoke, voice raw. "Because you make me want to be better. I don't know if I deserve you, but I want to try." His words made Maya's heart race. She touched Lily's bracelet, thinking about their journey from a cold contract to something beginning to bloom. She wasn't ready to say she loved him, but knew she was opening her heart, and that was a risk worth taking. Morning light filtered through the tall windows of Ethan Caldwell's penthouse, casting a warm glow over Maya Thompson as she sat at the breakfast table reading a message from Jasmine. "You need to check the internet. Sophia's stirring trouble again." Maya's heart pounded as she opened a celebrity news site. The headline hit like a slap. "Billionaire Caldwell's marriage a sham." Though the article didn't name its source, it strongly suggested that her marriage to Ethan was a business arrangement with vague but damaging details. Maya clenched her phone, feeling the ground shift beneath her feet. Ethan walked in, sleeves rolled up, already on a call with his legal team. Seeing the look on her face, he gestured for her to wait and quickly ended the call. "You've seen the article?" he said, his voice low and tense. Maya nodded, her voice sharper than she intended. "Sophia's behind this, isn't she? She warned us, and you still let her get this far." Ethan sighed and sat across from her. "I had lawyers working to stop it, but Sophia was faster. Her father, Gerald Laurent, has connections in the media. She used them to apply pressure. Pressure for what Maya stood too restless to sit still." "What does she want from you?" Ethan looked her straight in the eye, his gaze serious. "She wants me to fold. Gerald's pushing a merger. I've opposed. It would bring huge profits, but cut thousands of jobs. Sophia thinks that if she weakens my reputation, I'll agree to make the bad press go away." Maya was silent. Momentarily, anger mingling with unexpected admiration for Ethan's resolve. "So what are you going to do? Let her tear us apart, or cave to protect your company?" Ethan stood and approached her. "I won't cave, Maya, not to Sophia or anyone. But I need you with me. This article doesn't just target me, it targets you, our image." Maya looked up at him, feeling the sincerity in his voice. "I'm not afraid of a few tabloids, Ethan. But I need to know how you'll handle this. We're a team, aren't we?" Ethan took her hand, his eyes full of determination. "We're a team. I've scheduled a meeting with Gerald Laurent this afternoon. I want you there not to perform, but to show him we can't be shaken." Maya nodded, though a ripple of anxiety stirred within her. Facing Sophia was one thing. Facing a powerful investor like Gerald Laurent was a different battle. That afternoon, Maya and Ethan stepped into the boardroom at Caldwell Enterprises headquarters. Gerald Laurent, an older man with silver hair and razor-sharp eyes, sat at the head of the table. Beside him was Sophia, wearing a smug smile. In a navy blue business dress, Maya felt like she was entering war. Ethan Gerald began his voice, deep and commanding. I hope you've called this meeting to revisit the merger. You know it benefits all of us. Ethan took his seat, his voice calm but resolute. I'm not here to talk mergers, Gerald. I'm here to talk about your daughter. Sophia has spread false rumors about my wife and me damaging the company's image. I want it to stop. Sophia scoffed, reclining in her chair. Rumors, I'm just saying what everyone's already thinking, Ethan. A girl like Maya, no money, no status. How else could she marry you without a deal? Maya clenched her hands under the table, but kept her voice composed. Ms. Laurent, you know nothing about me or our marriage. And if you think a few articles will make me walk away, you're mistaken. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Gerald raised an eyebrow, now looking at Maya, as if truly noticing her for the first time. You've got nerve, Ms. Thompson. But in business, reputation is everything. These rumors, true or not, could affect Caldwell Enterprises stock. Ethan slammed his palm on the table, his voice edged with danger. These aren't rumors, Gerald. They're a deliberate attack. If you don't rein your daughter in, I'll sue her for defamation, and I promise you won't like the outcome. Sophia's face paled, but Gerald raised a hand silencing her. Ethan, don't be rash. I'll make sure no further articles appear. But I hope you'll reconsider the merger. We all want this company to grow, don't we? Ethan looked him dead in the eye. My company doesn't grow by sacrificing workers. The merger is off the table. Gerald nodded slowly, a flicker of reluctant respect in his eyes. You're as stubborn as your father. Very well. We'll leave it at that. Sophia, I apologize to Mr. Caldwell and Ms. Thompson. Sophia bit her lip, but under her father's sharp glare she mumbled, I'm sorry. But when she looked at Maya, her eyes were still filled with venom. On the way home, Maya turned to Ethan, her voice soft. You didn't have to do that, threaten to sue her. That could have blown back on you. Ethan squeezed her hand, his eyes gentle. You're worth the risk, Maya. I brought you into this world, and I won't let you face it alone. His words made Maya's heart pound. She thought about how far they had come from a cold contract to that kiss in Detroit, and now standing united against Sophia. Thank you, Ethan, she said, squeezing his hand back, for standing by me. That night, they sat on the penthouse sofa sharing a bottle of wine. Ethan spoke with quiet determination about launching a support fund for the Detroit workers. Maya shared stories about her volunteer work at the community center. For the first time, their conversation felt easy, like friends, not people bound by legal terms. Before bed, Ethan paused at Maya's door. I can't promise to be perfect, he said, voice husky. But I promise I'll try for you. Maya smiled, touching Lily's bracelet. That's enough, Ethan. We'll try together. Maya lay in bed as he left, thinking of Ethan's promise. She wasn't ready to say I love you, not yet. But she knew she was falling for the real man behind the contract, the one who fought for what was right, who opened up to her. And though she knew Sophia wasn't done yet for the first time, she believed they could face whatever came side by side. The warm light from the chandelier in Ethan Caldwell's penthouse dining room softened the tension, but Maya Thompson could still feel her heart pounding as she looked at the faces around the table. Tonight, she and Ethan had invited her mother, Grace, and Ethan's parents, Robert and Helen Caldwell, for a dinner that would unveil a painful truth. Their marriage had started with a contract. After the scandal with Sophia Laurent and the tabloid article, Maya could no longer live in a lie, especially not with the people who cared about them most. Ethan, though hesitant at first, had agreed. When he gently squeezed her hand before dinner, there was trust in his eyes. Grace, her silver hair neatly styled, looked at Maya with concern. Sweetheart, what's going on? You both seem so serious. Helen Caldwell offered a gentle smile. I'm sure it's nothing, Grace. They're newlyweds. Stresses every day. Maya breathed deeply, feeling Ethan's hand press lightly over hers beneath the table. It's not something small, her voice shaking but resolute. We need to tell the truth. Our marriage, it started as a contract. Ethan needed a wife to secure his position at the company, and I needed money to save my mother. I signed an agreement to be his wife for 3 years. Silence fell over the room, broken only by the clock ticking on the wall. Grace paled, her hand trembling. Maya, what are you saying? You sold yourself to save me. Maya felt her heartache, tears threatening. Mom, I don't regret it. You're getting better, and that's what matters most. But I don't want to lie to you anymore. Robert Caldwell frowned, turning to his son. Ethan, is this true? Did you drag this girl into a scheme for the company? Ethan nodded, his voice low but sincere. Yes, Dad. I was wrong to begin this way. But Maya is not part of some scheme. She's changed me, made me want to be better. I don't want to keep living a lie. Helen placed a hand over her chest, pain flashing across her eyes. Ethan, I thought you had finally found love. You know how much your father and I hoped for that, after losing Lily. The mention of Lily deepened the weight in the room. Maya touched the silver bracelet on her wrist, the one Helen had gifted her, and needed to speak. Helen, I'm sorry for deceiving you. I genuinely believe that what Ethan and I have now is honest. We're trying to build a relationship based on truth, not contracts. Grace looked at Maya, tears sliding down her cheeks. No mother wants her child to make that kind of sacrifice. I'd rather die than watch you live in a false marriage. Maya stood, knelt beside her mother, and held her hand. Mom, it's not false anymore. I don't know if I love Ethan yet, but I'm opening my heart. And I was hoping you could believe in me. Grace embraced her, her voice breaking. I believe you, Maya. But promise me you'll put your happiness first. Ethan stood, scanning the room. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused. I promise to do right by Maya. She deserves it, and I won't let her down. Robert, who had remained quiet, finally spoke. Ethan, I'm disappointed in you, but I'm also disappointed in myself. I voted to close the Detroit plant, chose profits over people just like I did after Lily died. I taught you that business was everything, but you chose another path. I'm proud of that. Ethan was taken aback. Dad, thank you. Helen wiped away a tear, her smile soft and fragile. We all make mistakes, but if you two are trying to make things right, we'll support you. Maya, you're a remarkable young woman. I hope you and Ethan find true happiness. Dinner ended on a lighter note, though a trace of awkwardness remained. As Grace and the Caldwells left, Maya turned to Ethan, her voice gentle. Thank you for doing this. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Ethan took her hand, his gaze tender. You were right. The truth is the first step. And Maya, I want you to know I'm falling in love with you not because of the contract, but because you've made me want to open my heart again. His confession made her heart race. She wasn't ready to say it, but something warm bloomed inside her. I don't know what I feel yet, Ethan, she said honestly, but I want to find out. Let's take it one step at a time. Ethan smiled, touching her cheek. One step at a time. The next morning, Maya met Jasmine at the community center where she volunteered. Did you tell your mom and his parents the truth? Jasmine asked, wide-eyed. God, Maya, you're braver than anyone I know. Maya laughed softly as she arranged books for the children's reading class. I had to do it, Jazz. Living a lie was too heavy. And Ethan, he's changed. He said he loved me. Jasmine paused, staring at her. And what about you? Do you love him yet? Maya hesitated, touching Lily's bracelet. I'm not sure, but I'm opening up, and that's already scary enough. Jasmine hugged her. You're stronger than anyone I know. Just be careful, okay? I don't want to see you hurt. Maya nodded and moved. Thanks, Jazz. I'll be careful. That night, Maya and Ethan sat on the penthouse balcony, gazing at the Manhattan skyline. Ethan shared his plans to expand the Detroit Worker Support Fund, his voice full of passion. Maya spoke of her dream to write again, and Ethan encouraged her to start. They talked late into the night, laughter mingling with moments of quiet peace. Before bed, Ethan paused at her door, his expression serious. Maya, I know I'm not perfect, but you make me want to try every day. Thank you for giving me a chance. Maya smiled, touching his hand. Thank you for showing me the real you, Ethan. We'll get through this together. Maya reflected on their journey as she lay in bed, from a cold contract to a relationship beginning to bloom. She hadn't said I love you yet, but knew her heart was leaning toward Ethan. And though the road ahead would still be difficult, she finally felt ready, not because of a contract, but because of who she was becoming. The banquet hall of the Museum of Modern Art in New York shimmered with light from elegant chandeliers. But Maya Thompson no longer felt out of place among the upper-class crowd. She stood beside Ethan Caldwell hand in hand at a charity gala supporting underprivileged children, a project she had proposed, and one Ethan had eagerly funded. Her dark purple silk dress hugged her form gracefully, but the gown didn't make her radiant. It was her genuine smile. No longer a mask Mrs. Caldwell wore. It was Maya, her true self. In a deep navy suit, Ethan looked at her with soft admiration, a clear contrast to the distant man he once was. You did amazing, Ethan whispered, placing a gentle hand on the small of her back as they greeted guests. This project will change so many children's lives. Maya smiled, warmed by his touch. We did it together. I had the idea, but you made it real. A year ago they had stood at events like this as a pretend couple bound by legal terms. But now, after so many trials, from Sophia Loren's accusations to the Detroit plant crisis, and confronting their families, they had built something real, not from paper, but from trust and emotion. Maya still hadn't said the words I love you, but her heart knew that moment was drawing near. That morning, Maya visited Hillcrest Medical Center to see her mother. Now almost fully recovered, Grace strolled through the hospital garden with a beaming smile. I'm being discharged soon, she said, hugging Maya tightly. And I see you smiling more. Ethan, is he truly good to you? Maya nodded, her voice full of honesty. He is, Mom. We've been through a lot, but I'm finally finding the right person. Grace squeezed her hand. All I want is your happiness. If Ethan is the one, then you have my blessing. Later that afternoon, Maya met Jasmine at the community center, where she still volunteered. Jasmine, helping a group of kids prep for a performance, laughed when she saw her. Look at you, glowing like a star. What did Ethan do to make you sparkle like that? Maya laughed, placing books on a shelf. He's just being himself. Jazz, I think I'm falling in love with him. Jasmine froze, eyes lighting up. Really? Oh my God. Maya, I knew it, but are you sure? After everything that's happened, Maya touched the silver bracelet from Helen Lily's bracelet and nodded. I haven't told him yet, but I'm sure. I want the moment to be right. Jasmine hugged her tightly. You deserve this, Maya. Just don't wait too long. Don't keep him wondering. At the charity gala, Maya and Ethan moved through the crowd, receiving thanks from donors and guests. Charles Whitmore, chairman of the hospital board, patted Ethan on the shoulder. You've done well, Ethan. And you, Ms. Thompson. No. Mrs. Caldwell are a true asset. Maya smiled, now used to being called Mrs. Caldwell. Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. We're just trying to help those in need. As they stood near the banquet table, Sophia Laurent appeared in a shimmering silver gown. Maya instinctively tightened her grip on Ethan's hand, bracing for another confrontation. But Sophia nodded her eyes, lacking their usual hostility. "Congratulations on the project," she said, voice neutral. "It's impressive." Ethan raised an eyebrow but responded calmly. "Thank you, Sophia. We can leave the past behind us." Sophia gave a slight nod and walked away. Maya looked at Ethan surprised. "Did she behave like a decent person?" Ethan chuckled softly. "Her father had a long talk with her after that board meeting. I think she finally realized she can't break us." Maya smiled, feeling a weight lift from her chest. "We're stronger than she thought." At the end of the evening, Maya and Ethan stepped out onto the balcony, looking out over the lights of Manhattan. Ethan pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, and Maya stiffened. "It's not a ring," he said quickly, smiling, "but it's something I've been wanting to give you." Inside was a beautiful fountain pen, engraved with her name. "You said you wanted to write again," Ethan said, his voice husky. "I want you to know I believe in you, Maya. Not just as my wife, but as someone who can do anything she dreams of." Tears welled in Maya's eyes. She embraced him, whispering, "Thank you, Ethan. And I love you." Ethan froze, then held her tighter, eyes shining. "What did you say?" "I love you," Maya repeated, smiling through her tears. "I don't know exactly when it happened, but I know it's real." He kissed her a deep, heartfelt kiss, with no audience, no contract. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you too, Maya. Thank you for giving me this chance." The next morning, Maya sat at the writing desk in their penthouse, her new pen in hand, beginning a story about a woman who found love through the most unexpected beginnings. Ethan walked in with coffee and smiled when he saw her writing. "You look happy," he said. "I am," Maya replied, motioning him to sit beside her. "And you're part of that reason." Ethan shared updates about the Detroit Worker Support Fund, how it had already helped dozens find new jobs. He discussed plans to reduce his work hours to make more time for her. "I want us to have a real life, Maya," he said. "Not just work and pressure. Us." Maya nodded, seeing a vast horizon ahead. She thought of her mother, now healthy, Jasmine, her ever-loyal friend, and Ethan, the man who was once a stranger, now the one she wanted by her side forever. As they stood at the window, gazing out at the city, Maya touched Lily's bracelet and smiled. "Lily, I hope I've done the right thing," she whispered. She knew their love wasn't perfect. Challenges would come. But what started as a cold, calculated contract had become something tangible, something worth fighting for. A journey not for signatures on paper, but for the beating of two hearts finally in rhythm.